Okay, so we're here today with Michael Sanders. He is an amazing human being, an author, a movement specialist, an incredible dancer, a great friend, part of Lovolution. I don't know if we have enough time in this short podcast to list all the things that he does. Michael, you want to introduce yourself a little bit quickly?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having me, Gio. And yeah, all those things are true. I'm a partner in Lovolution. We're the evolution of love on the dance floor. I'm also a partner in Sun Moon Energy. We're a clean energy startup. And yeah, really excited to be on this podcast with you and to chat a little bit about Burning Man.
We're just going to talk a little bit with Michael just about Burning Man. He sort of inspired me to go. You know, when he talked to me about it the first time, I was like, okay, I need to go here. Because I could tell by the way he would articulate the experience, there's no way I could actually understand what he was talking about unless I actually experienced it myself. I could get an idea, but not really understand. So, you know, we'll start off. Basically, I just want to ask you, like, why would anyone want to go to Burning Man in the first place?
For me, the reason someone would want to go to Burning Man is to see the manifestation of human potential. It's like 70,000 people congregate in this area called Black Rock Desert, where virtually nothing exists there for 51 weeks of the year. It's desolate. It's a desert. And then for 1 week of the year, all these people congregate to create what is called Burning Man. And it's beyond a festival. It's beyond any words that we have. It's so beyond what's typically experienced in default reality. But some of it has, Burning Man has sort of 10 founding principles, some of which are like radical self-reliance. So the idea that you have to bring everything with you to the desert and take care of yourself. And now you can sort of assemble groups and communities where you guys bring your items as a collective. But you know, you are venturing out to the desert, so there's no like amenities that you're accustomed to in the typical day-to-day world. Another one of the principles is leave no trace. So imagine 70,000 people in the desert who come together to create the most high vibrational celebration you could possibly encounter, like the world's most elaborate art installations, 100-foot tall constructions made out of wood or steel, whatever materials they're using, interactive like Ferris wheels or things to climb on and play around and swing off of and jump through, or just like elaborate mazes, or there'll be a movie theater, a cinema in the middle of the desert for 1 week of the year. The greatest music, like all the time, nonstop. It doesn't matter if it's the middle of the night or the middle of the day. And everybody's biking, or everybody has bicycles, and there's communities set up. And, you know, it doesn't matter what you're looking for, you can manifest it instantaneously. So whether you're looking to meet, you know, your best friend, or if you're looking for a kiss from a beautiful girl or a beautiful guy, or if you're looking for a joint or whatever it is, you know, it will arrive to you instantaneously, literally within seconds upon thinking of it.
Wow. And that sounds pretty crazy.
It is, and it's much different than what I think most of us typically experience in our everyday waking reality, but it doesn't need to be different. And I think that's what Burning Man largely teaches and demonstrates, is that the fabric of reality is malleable, and that we can shape our existence to match our desires and our dreams. I think so long as we have good and loving intentions. So, you know, it's not just me who would express these truths. It's everybody at Burning Man has these stories of manifesting whatever it is they want. You know, like I'll just give an example of one time I was on the dance floor dancing to this groovy group called Robot Heart. They have this magical double-decker bus that drives into the middle of the desert every night around midnight, and they stay until noon with an emphasis on sunrise and just play the grooviest music. But I was out there, and I had been awake for probably 40 consecutive hours, and I had been dancing for the last 12 of them. And my stomach grumbled, and I realized, like, oh, I haven't eaten in a while, you know? And I'm thinking to myself, like, I should probably get some food in my stomach. And the dude beside me, he's dressed like a leopard. So he's wearing like a leopard costume. And he turns to me and he's like, hey, brother, I feel like you should have this. And he reaches into his backpack and pulls out a Ziploc bag with like a 10-ounce barbecued steak in it. And he hands it to me, and I'm just like, I open the bag, I take a bite, and I feel every single nutrient start integrating with the core of my being. And
If
I
that's not
act,
instant manifestation at its finest, I don't know what is.
yeah, right. And then so I go to hand back the steak to him, and he's like, "No, brother, like I want you to have the whole thing. You look like you need it." And that's just one anecdote. You know, these things are happening. I would say I have probably like something of that profundity occurs 20 times every single day, and everybody out in that desert is sharing these experiences. And I think due to the fact that, you know, we're not as let's say technologically connected out there, there's not really any cell phones or there's no internet signal, so everybody's just sort of, you know, more three-dimensionally and personally connected, and it creates this telepathic wavelength amongst 70,000 people, all of whom are trying to enhance one another's experience. Because another one of Burning Man's principles is gifting. So the entire economy, if you can call it that, runs entirely upon gifting. It's not bartering, it's just gifting. There's no expectation of anything in return.
Can you buy
And
stuff there? Can you bring money? Will money get you anywhere?
no, there's no money on the playa. Everyone calls it the playa, the desert out there, and there's no money. Nothing's for sale. So, you know, people, you'll be walking down the street and people will be like, "Hey, would you like some sushi, or do you want a fruit smoothie, or whatever it is?" And nothing's for sale. And people might ask you to give them a hug in return or whatever, you know. But it's yeah, and when 70,000 people are collectively trying to enhance one another's experience, even if it's by just a little bit, the compounding effect of that is so transcendent and transformative and uplifting that for me, at the first time I discovered it, was the most inspirational thing I had ever come across. So I think for anyone out there, it can be an incredibly inspiring experience to show you that like utopia is attainable. And I think this is a slice of it. And the fact that it can exist for any duration of time, to me, suggests that it can exist for much longer than that.
Yeah, I think that was along the lines of the first time you explained it to me, and that was when I was like, okay, I have to check this place out because it sounds right up my alley, and it just sounds like magic. It sounds like literally magic, and things that when you explain it, it's like that can't be real because I haven't ever heard or seen anything like that. But I'm gonna be able to experience it firsthand, and I'll let everyone know how amazing or not amazing it is. Because I'll be honest, if I enjoyed it, but I'm optimistic. So just real quick, so what brought you there the first time? You know, like you explained the why people might go, but what was your initial like attraction to Burning Man? Just a friend told you to come, you should check it out. What was that like? Is there any story behind that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had heard of it. I probably like 3 years before I first ventured there, and I think the tipping point was when an ex-girlfriend of mine were staying at my friends Natalie and Sid's place in Montreal. I think in 2010 or 2011, and I saw Natalie's pictures of being at Burning Man, and it looked like some combination of Mad Max and Alice in Wonderland and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and just all these things. It looks so surreal. Like, I looking at the images, I could not believe that she had actually been in an environment of that nature that wasn't just like a studio shoot with a green screen.
Hmm.
It was so dreamlike and magical looking that I just in that moment knew I have to make it to Burning Man at some point.
Was it what you were expecting, or was it a lot different than what you thought it would be like? Because I'm sure you did your own research before you went.
Yeah, I mean, I did some research, but upon arriving, I realized that I could have spent years researching it and would have still had no understanding whatsoever of what Burning Man actually is. And even to this day, you know, I've been 3 years in a row and I'm going into the fourth, and I still don't know what to expect. Showing up, it's just so mind blowing and beyond anything that I could really anticipate, that I just totally stay open to what's coming. And, you know, in terms of things like a police presence, for example, you know, when you get into Burning Man, it is largely different than default reality. However, it still exists in the United States of America, in the state of Nevada. So there are laws, but they operate a little bit differently, you know. Like I have seen people get busted for possession of drugs and things of that nature, but I think if you're sensible and you're not being like just throwing the stuff around and offering it to everybody, then I think you're pretty safe there. And just, you know, you never have to consent to a search either. So I think that's something important for people to know going into the experience.
Very interesting. So some of the people that I've told that I'm going, a lot of their first thing is, you're crazy. You can only have fun if you're doing drugs there. The dust and the wind, it's dangerous. You're gonna get hit by an art car. Like all these crazy things. Is there any real like worries to have going in there? Like how bad is the dust? How bad is like the dehydration aspect? Can you get sick? Can you get sunstroke? What are the main things you got to watch out for when it comes to the actual experience? Are there any valid fears of the things I just explained?
Yeah, I mean, I think with anything you do in life, especially most things that are really exciting, there is an inherent level of risk involved, right? Whether that's being an entrepreneur and you have to worry about finances and actually manifesting your vision, or going to Burning Man and exposing yourself to harsh desert climates in a a far lesser controlled environment than we're typically accustomed to. And I think, like, in terms of hydration, yeah, dehydration's a risk. How do you avoid that? You bring a whole bunch of water with you. And that's one of the principles of radical self-reliance. So just bring like 4 or 5 liters of water with you every day and you're good to go. Just make sure you drink it. If sunstroke is a concern, I mean, it's like going to the beach. You can throw a t-shirt on or go into the shade for a bit. In terms of like, there have been people who have gotten hit by art cars and have actually died. Last year, a girl died falling off an art car and then being run over by a trailer that was being pulled behind it. But um, she was, as later discovered, really intoxicated. And there is a rule on Playa that art cars can only drive 5 miles per hour. And this art car was driving 5 miles per hour. So this girl was in a state of mind that probably was beyond, well, was certainly beyond safe. So that's, you have to be responsible for your own self. And I think oftentimes, we want to relinquish our responsibility and pass it off to somebody else. And, but really you have to take care of yourself. So I think as long as you're sensible and you're, mindful, then the dangers are no more significance than anywhere else in the world.
Awesome. And so, can someone have one of these experiences at Burning Man without having any sort of drugs or alcohol whatsoever? What do you think about that?
100%. I would guess that. I mean, throwing out percentages is such a funny game, but like somewhere between 20 and 40% of people there are likely completely sober. Like there's a lot of people who don't drink, who don't want to do psychedelics, who don't want to do other drugs. I've spent many days out there completely sober and have had equally profound and magical and mind-blowing experiences, sometimes even more so. So there's by no means a prerequisite to be out there doing drugs or drinking, and it's totally up to you and your individual preferences. And I think it's the perfect environment for whatever it is that you want to explore.
Awesome. So before we get into a couple of things that you think are must-haves in the playa, well, have you seen any celebrities? I hear you see a lot of famous people out there at Burning Man. Is there anyone that you've personally seen out in the playa?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, that same story of when the guy handed me a steak, I actually looked right after eating the steak, I offered that same steak to this black guy in a full white suit holding a pink umbrella who was dancing beside me. And I turned to him, I'm like, "Hey man, do you want some of this steak?" And he laughed and he's like, "No, brother, like I think you should have that. Like you look pretty hungry." So I'm sitting there eating it, and then I look to him again and I'm like, "Man, this is amazing." And he responds, he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Brother, if I wasn't here right now, I would not believe that this place could possibly exist." So I give this guy a hug, shake his hand. We're dancing beside one another for the next 20, 25 minutes until my friends Stacy and Lara come up and they point to him and they're like, "Mike," and they're like mouthing something to me across the dance floor. And I'm like, I can't understand you. Like, you got to come and tell me. And they come up to me and they're like, "Mike," they're like, "That's P. Diddy." And I look at him and I'm like, "Yeah, you're right, it is." So like I give him a hug, but the thing about being out there is that there is no real sense of celebrity. There's certainly no hierarchy. Like it doesn't matter if you're a vagabond who's panhandled all year just to save up enough money to make it to Burning Man, or if you're Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, or P. Diddy. Everybody there is on the same level once they're at Burning Man. And that's one of the really beautiful things about it.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so I'm going for my first time. What
Hmm.
do I need to bring? And I'm flying right into the playa, so I'm only allowed a backpack pretty much. So what do I bring? Like I'm only like I've got limited amount of space, limited amount of weight. What would you suggest are like the 5 or 10 most important things I need to bring?
You need to bring water. Well, first off, you need to bring your open mind and loving self, because that's going to allow you to manifest whatever it is that you truly need.
So fuck the bag, just bring my open mind, and I'll just manifest what I need when I get there.
Totally. By the same token, you don't want to be a mooch, and you want to be able to gift things to people. Not that you would be, but just to anybody who's thinking that. You want to be providing and gifting to the playa. So water for sure, lots of it, 4 to 5 liters a day. Food, you need food to last you a week. Something warm, because at night it can get really cold out there. And I mean, beyond that, you don't need a lot other than a gift. Whatever it is, something that you're going to contribute to Burning Man and share with as many people as possible. And it could be anything you can imagine. Like one year we brought a massive shag carpet, and we rolled it into the middle of the desert beside this sound bus that was just playing the most insanely beautiful music. And it's a harsh, rugged environment out there, so we roll out this shag carpet in the middle of the desert at 3 a.m, and we invite people onto it to come dance on it. But in order to dance on it, we instruct them that they first have to take off their shoes. So they take off their shoes and they step on this shag carpet, and everybody's minds are just blown, because it's so comfortable to have your feet on this soft carpet when you've been trekking around a rough desert terrain all week. And then while they're on the carpet, we instructed them to close their eyes, and we would feed them frozen grapes that we had brought with us. So we'd put the frozen grapes in their mouths, and when they would bite into it, it was as though they had been reborn.
Wow.
And so everybody was calling it the magic carpet ride. And it's so simple, it's a carpet and some frozen grapes. So you can bring something as simple as that, or you can bring something elaborate, like you can be building an entire camp and a sound system, or a bus, or art installations, or like a book that you want to gift to people. Or a lot of people might bring jewelry, or like love potions or essential oils. It's really limitless. Anything you can think of that you'd like to share with people you think they'd enjoy, that's what you should bring.
Awesome. So I am part of the Lovolution camp, so I think water and food I got pretty much taken care of as part of the camp, right? What about like I hear like goggles and a dusk mask? How important are those? Would you rank those on a must-have type list?
Yeah, I guess I kind of neglected those. I would say for everybody else, they're essential. For whatever reason, I do not actually enjoy wearing the goggles. I enjoy having the dust hit my face. And I think I must be experiencing it slightly differently than other people, because it doesn't bother me. I actually enjoy it. I squint my eyes when it becomes a really big dust storm, because they are like mini tornadoes out there. But yeah, I think most people are going to want a dust mask and goggles.
Awesome. All right, man. So those are all the questions. And I know we're going to have a follow-up to this once, I actually come to experience it with you guys. And we'll probably get Coletti on that one as well, because I'm sure he's going to have a lot of questions. Anything else you want to leave, parting words, before we go and see each other in a couple weeks in the playa?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the one principle of leave no trace. So it's really cool, because after everything that's happening, people are pouring their hearts and souls into Burning Man to create all of this magic, physical structures, mental structures, spiritual structures, whatever they are. And so much energy is taking place here, more energy than New York City could ever hope to have. And it's all occurring in the middle of this desert. And yet at the end of the week, everything is torn down. A lot of the art installations are burned. And it's all about this notion of detachment and letting go. So regardless of how beautiful it is that of the things you're creating, they are impermanent. And it seems to be a universal law that everything is impermanent. So it's really embracing that and seeing the beauty in it. And then within a week of Burning Man ending, there is zero trace of anything having been in that desert. And it's actually part of the commitment to the native land that Burning Man borrows from. And there's just no garbage. Like the whole time throughout Burning Man, you will not see a person litter. Cigarette smokers ash their cigarettes on their boots or their shoes, and they put the butts in their pocket. And if like a plastic wrapper, like a granola bar wrapper or whatever, if you see it blowing in the breeze, somebody will grab it, put it in their pocket, and take it with them to leave. So it's this really profound commitment to taking care of the earth and everyone else, and of ensuring that there is no litter, and that there's no evidence of anything having taken place there.
Awesome. Sometimes you might wonder if it even happened at all. Was that just it's a big dream, or Did
Oh,
a
yeah.
70,000 person festival just roll through the desert?
Totally.
Well, listen, man, it was awesome talking to you, and I can't wait to see you and the crew in a couple weeks on the playa. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, brother.